Episode 8, The World of Dragons. In the conference room, Dracon sat at the head of the table with Sophie next to him, and the others took seats on both sides of the large table. Some of them looked puzzled about the situation, while others had grim expressions on their faces, since they had known about the reason for this meeting. The reason I summoned you to this meeting is because Sophie lost her internal core to a mortal. Dracon was the first to speak. Those who didn't know the situation looked at each other in astonishment. Last Saturday was Sophie's first time creating the rainfall. Elder Liam was supposed to assist her, but Sophie, not liking the supervision, left Elder Liam to practice on her own. That is how this misfortune has happened. I didn't do my job. Dracon, boss, please punish me. Panicked, the elderly with gray hair and eyebrows was about to leave his seat and kneel. It wasn't your fault. Sophie is too stubborn. I've spoiled her. Dracon glared at Sophie and then faced the others in the room. The problem is that Sophie's internal core is in someone else's hands. If some mortal took it, we can just take it back, a man with bushy eyebrows and big eyes suggested. If it was that simple, I wouldn't have summoned you here. Something unexpected has happened. The mortal has swallowed Sophie's internal core, Dracon continued after a pause. This piece of information stunned everyone at the meeting, including Sophie. How is that possible? The internal core of our tribe? Someone questioned the possibility immediately. Sophie's internal core has not matured and is very small. When it fell from the sky, it dropped into the mortal's mouth by accident, Dracon explained in a steady voice. Looking at each other, the elders began to talk in low voices. A mortal swallowing an internal core has not happened in 1,000 years. Is the person a cultivator in the mortal world, since he hasn't exploded after swallowing the internal core? There are likely no cultivators left after the last bunch flew away from here 300 years ago. Maybe only 2 or 3 are still living in the mortal world. The fact that the mortal has not exploded should be due to the weak power of Ms. Sophie's internal core. They talked in whispers for at least 2 minutes before they gradually fell silent. Elders, how do you think we should solve this problem? Dracon asked when they had all stopped talking. After some consideration, Elder Liam spoke up. This matter is quite serious. Although Ms. Sophie will not be in danger in the near future, without her internal core, she will not be able to cultivate and can't transform into a dragon. Besides, according to the ancient records, members of our tribe can't live for more than 5 years after the loss of their internal core before maturity, even if he or she is healthy. Does it mean that Sophie will not live beyond 20 if she can't retrieve her internal core? Dracon asked. She may extend her life or even grow another internal core with the help of miracle herbs, but Ms. Sophie is too precious to take the risk, Elder Liam warned. Is it in the stomach of the mortal sitting outside? The man with bushy eyebrows and big eyes stood up abruptly. It is quite simple then. Bring him in here and cut open his stomach. We'll get the internal core back. Dracon remained silent, but he looked livid. Elder Bruce, it has been 200 years and you are still hot-tempered, the woman sitting next to the man said disapprovingly. Sophie's life is at risk here, and the mortal is just an ant, Elder Bruce shouted. At his outburst, some other elders seemed to be nodding. Kill him and dump his body into the sea. No one would know, he continued. Hearing this plan, the elders who were about to nod began to frown. Ignoring Elder Bruce, Dracon turned to the other elders. How about the rest of you? Do you have any other suggestions? Sulkily, Elder Bruce sat down and turned to ask the woman next to him, Was I wrong? The boss has told us to learn to be modern people. It has been hundreds of years now, and you still act and speak like a gangster. I wonder how you can survive the heavenly tribulation this year. The woman glared at him. I'm just all words and no action. You know I never kill. Elder Bruce smiled sheepishly. He looked embarrassed at his outburst. Shut up and listen to the elders." The woman still gave him a disapproving look. Meanwhile, another elder stood up and said, "There is one solution that can solve both purposes. We don't have to kill the mortal and help Ms. Sophie to survive." "Tell us," Dracon said with eagerness in his tone. However, the elder hesitated for several seconds before saying, "I don't know if I should say it." "There is nothing you can't say. Say whatever you want. I won't punish you," Dracon encouraged. Fine," the elder nodded. "If the mortal has been able to absorb the dragon core, it means he might be able to gain some degree of cultivation. He can then transfer some dragon essence to Ms. Sophie to sustain her vital essence." Dracon looked doubtful and asked, "Now let's put aside the problem that a mortal might not be able to cultivate using our techniques. Even if your plan works, what should we do when Sophie is 20 years old, 5 years later? By then, the dragon core will be strong and big enough, and he can share half of the essence with Ms. Sophie. After all, the dragon core originated from her and will not pose any risks to her. They can achieve this result by..." "By what?" Dracon asked impatiently. "By..." The elderly brought his thumbs together and spat out a single word with difficulty. "Consummation." "What?" Sophie froze for half a second before jumping up and shrieking. "Elder Frank, you are a disgraceful jerk at such an old age." "Behave," Dracon glared at his daughter. Dracon had a powerful presence which Sophie could not ignore, and she sat back in her seat, feeling defeated. "This plan may be a plausible solution," said Elder Liam. "In fact, even if we did as Elder Bruce suggested and took the core out by cutting open his stomach, it would not be safe to put the contaminated core back into Ms. Sophie's body. I've read about the solution mentioned by Elder Frank in an ancient book. It is kind of a surrogate core cultivation. The problem with this kind of cultivation is that it takes a long time and needs the assistance of a cultivator without an internal core. In addition to all the restrictions, the cultivator will get very few benefits, and that is why the method has gradually lost its appeal over time and is not practiced anymore. However, in the case of Ms. Sophie, it's worth a try." "No!" Sophie shouted immediately. "I'd rather die!" Ignoring his daughter's outburst, Dracon waved his hand, and Sophie froze as if she was bound with an invisible rope, since she could neither move nor yell. Turning to Elder Liam, Dracon furrowed his brows. "If this is the only solution, doesn't it mean Sophie and the mortal will have to..." "We don't have a choice," Elder Liam said humbly. After a moment's consideration, Dracon asked, "How about that mortal's character?" "I did some investigating. His name is Jacob, and he is kind-hearted and very good to his grandmother. Though not very hard-working at his university, he is an average student. But he has great potential if he applied himself. More importantly, he is not married and doesn't even have a girlfriend." "Marriages between dragons and humans are rare, but are not unheard of. Once he gets a new dragon identity, it's not against our law for him to cultivate our techniques." Dracon thought for a while. "Let's hear him out and see how he responds to the plan. If he agrees, then the matter is settled."
Help! Ah!
What the? Is that a girl falling? Oh my god, I need to catch her.
Hello, dear listeners. Our story has seen Sophie falling from the sky and straight into Jacob's arms, making him a part of her dragon world for eternity. While catching her, he accidentally swallows her dragon core, without which Sophie cannot survive. Their only option? Marriage. But it is not that easy. Battling immense dangers and lethal dragons in his path, Jacob needs to become a dragon to share Sophie's core with her. Can he say no to Sophie's father, the Dragon King? Find out, dear listeners, in the upcoming episodes of Married to the Dragon King's Daughter, only on Pocket FM.
Episode 9, Becoming a Dragon. Jacob was staring outside the window from Dracon's office. His thoughts varied just like the clouds in the sky. He felt tense for a few minutes and then calmed himself down. He started pacing for a few minutes thinking about his grandmother, but sat himself down on the chair, thinking that his parents were always there to take care of her should something happen to him. His head was aching by the time the meeting ended. It lasted for more than an hour. Jacob had mentally made up his mind to excuse himself from the situation. He was about to move towards the conference room when the automatic door opened with a loud swish. A dozen or so people, some old and some young, walked out of the room. Sophie was the first one who rushed out of the room. She snickered loudly at Jacob. Jacob just rolled his eyes back at her. He was tired of wondering how he had offended her. "You lost your stuff, and I was brought here because of it. It's fortunate that your dad is a reasonable man, or I would have died because of you." Jacob couldn't help but let out his anger. While the others passed by Jacob on their way out of the office, they cast strange glances at him. Dracon excused himself to Jacob and took Sophie back to school himself. How he would persuade his daughter to let go of Jacob was beyond his imagination. Well, at least she was away for now. Only Elder Liam and Jacob were left in the office. Jacob looked at Elder Liam and waited for him to speak first. After going through all the countless weird events in the past few days, his mind was a bit numb, and he didn't even try to think straight now. "Is your name Jacob?" Elder Liam took a seat opposite to Jacob and asked kindly. Jacob stared at him. "Yeah, and you are—" "You may call me Grandpa Liam." Elder Liam looked at Jacob kindly. "You look a bit confused. Are you feeling lost?" "I'm not that confused," Jacob answered stubbornly. Elder Liam continued to look kindly at Jacob. "You will be experiencing many new things in your future, Jacob." "Well?" Jacob waited for him to continue talking about this strange situation. "What do you think of the girl, Sophie?" Abruptly, Elder Liam changed the subject. "Well, where to begin? Let's see. She's immature, unruly, willful, bad-mannered." Jacob started off without any intention to stop. With a smile, Elder Liam interrupted Jacob. "But I'm sure you find Sophie very cute." "I disagree," Jacob responded immediately. It wasn't true, but Jacob was finding it difficult to see her as cute right now. "Well, perhaps you will find out more about her gradually as you spend more time with each other," Elder Liam said calmly. "In the future?" Jacob looked at him with alarm. "Yes, the two of you will live together for a long time." Elder Liam smiled at Jacob. Jacob was alarmed. "Why?" "Our boss appreciates you and thinks you are eligible to be his son-in-law," Elder Liam informed him. Jacob's jaw dropped in shock. "Are you kidding me? Sophie is only 15 years old. She's a high school girl while I'm only 20. How could you even think of getting us married?" "Do you think that the bead you swallowed is an ordinary bead?" Elder Liam continued. Jacob was holding his head in his hands by now. He remembered that something sweet like a candy had dropped into his mouth when he had caught Sophie. He gritted his teeth in regret as he recalled that day. "What is it? What is this bead you speak so much about?" asked Jacob, lifting his head up and facing Elder Liam. "Dragon core," Elder Liam said slowly. Jacob looked at him in a daze, thinking that the entire family had flipped their lids. "Dragons flying across the heavens. Do you envy them?" asked Elder Liam. Jacob shook his head. "Dragons transforming the sky and the earth. Do you envy them?" Elder Liam continued to ask. Jacob shook his head again. "Dragons," Elder Liam tried again. Jacob still shook his head. Elder Liam's old face dropped. "If you don't listen to me, the bead will take your life at any moment." He saw that Jacob's face was full of questions. He opened his hand, and a glimmering greenish-blue water bead appeared on his palm. The bead in your stomach is like the water bead on my palm. Ignoring Jacob's astonishment, Elder Liam raised the water bead in his palm slowly. However, as time goes on, the water bead gradually expanded to the size as big as his whole palm. The huge greenish-blue bead had a clear reflection of Jacob's face on its surface. At last, it will... Elder Liam gazed at the water bead. The water bead burst, and water splashed all over Jacob. Startled, Jacob took a step back. Elder Liam pointed at Jacob's stomach with a smile. Thinking of the moment when the water bead burst, Jacob suddenly had a stomach ache. I have a set of cultivation techniques. You can take it and work hard on your cultivation, but remember, you must hide it from other people. This set of cultivation techniques can suppress the dragon core in your body and prevent you from dying of explosion in the near future. Performing something that looked like a magic trick, Elder Liam grabbed an ancient book that seemed to have appeared from thin air and placed it in Jacob's hand. Who the hell are you? Jacob asked. He felt like his brain was in a buzz of confusion and was unable to accept all the overwhelming information. We are dragons. Jacob backed off half a meter. Looking at the old man, Jacob thought he was bluffing. To him, he resembled the vendor who sold the Secret Ways to Change Your Life self-help books at the corner of his university. But Jacob couldn't figure out how he had summoned the water bead. Was it a new form of fraud? Faced with the complexities of society, Jacob didn't quite trust his recognition ability. I know it's hard to digest, but you will get used to it. Elder Liam patted Jacob on his shoulder amiably. Now that you are one of us, you must guard our common secret. By doing so, you are also protecting yourself. Jacob was baffled. What confused him more was that if they were indeed dragons, why did they dress up like ordinary people? They conducted themselves like businessmen, too, sitting in a posh office in a classy building like the one he was in right now. Flying across the heavens? Transforming the sky and the earth? Seriously? He thought everything the old man had told him was gibberish. He thought it was an elaborate scam. And who do these people think they were? They were certainly not a bunch of disguised superheroes hidden in the city like Superman or something. It seems you still don't believe me. Looking at Jacob, Elder Liam could read Jacob's thoughts by studying his face. He abruptly took the ancient book from Jacob's hand and put his other palm on Jacob's forehead. All of a sudden, a passage revealing shiny golden characters appeared in Jacob's mind. Before he could react, Elder Liam removed his hand. This is the first chapter of the Spirit Concentration Scroll. It is simple, and you will master it by meditating for half an hour every night. I will check your progress periodically, and you will be punished if you don't meet my requirements, Elder Liam told Jacob. His tone remained kind and gentle, even while giving orders. My God, the old man looks harmless, but is actually quite aggressive. When did I promise to cultivate this stuff? Jacob stared at him with panic and fury. Don't worry, these cultivation techniques will do you good instead of harm. On the other hand, if you don't cultivate them, you will be in danger. From now on, I'm your guardian in our circle. If you have any questions, just call me. Elder Liam took out a name card and presented it to Jacob. They even have visiting cards? The so-called dragons are quite professional. Or can I say unprofessional, considering today's conduct? Speechless, Jacob took the visiting card and froze at the information on it. Liam Davis, Managing Vice President of the Sturgeon Bay University. Remember your identity. From now on, you are not only a student of the university, but also the Dragon King's son-in-law. Reaching his hand out, Elder Liam patted Jacob's forehead. Episode 10. A Pretty Teacher. Dragon King? Jacob was shocked and looked at Elder Liam suspiciously. You still have a class this afternoon, right? Why don't you head back? Elder Liam stood up and waved at Jacob. Jacob thought for a few seconds, stood up, and walked out of Dracon's office. He took the elevator down alone. Standing in the elevator and watching the descending number of floors on the screen, Jacob felt like he was dreaming. He hailed a cab and sulked in the back seat. Only after seeing the familiar roads and streets, Jacob finally felt like he was back to reality. He took out his phone and called Sam. "Where are you guys?" he asked. "We are in the art class in the left wing of the old building. Are you okay? We were pretty worried," Sam said. "I'm fine. I'm on my way back. I'll see you in a bit." Jacob hung up the phone. The first thing he wanted to do right now was to find his friends. After a series of weird events, he felt like everything had changed. Jacob sprinted up the staircase to the classroom Sam told him about and sneaked in through the back door. "What happened? Tell us everything," Sam and the others asked Jacob with concern and curiosity. Jacob sighed. "I don't want to talk about it." Jacob waved his hand and sat down. Kathy, the class president who usually sat in the front, saw that Jacob had come back. She turned around to look at him. "Seems like Kathy has started taking a lot of interest in you lately," one of Jacob's roommates nudged him. Jacob wasn't in the mood, despite seeing that Kathy was straining herself to look at him. He tried to remain calm and asked, "Hey, what's the name of our principal?" "Thomas Jones. Did you not know that?" said Sam. "What about the vice principal?" Jacob asked again. "The managing vice principal's name is Liam Davis. I don't know about the others, but he's of great importance." It seemed like Sam was in a mood to show off his knowledge about who's who of the campus, and Jacob let him. Sam went on, "The managing vice principal is the most powerful person in the school, as he is just underneath the principal. Plus, everyone regards him and gives him all the importance." Jacob heard everything Sam said and didn't say anything more. "Why are you asking about him? Is this related to the principal?" Sam asked Jacob. "Nothing." Jacob touched the pocket in which he had kept Elder Liam's visiting card and said, "Nothing, I was just curious." "Jacob, stand up and answer the question." The teacher saw Jacob talking to others. He also knew that Jacob wasn't in the class before and realized he must have sneaked in. He looked angry and demanded that Jacob answer the question. Poor Jacob. He wasn't there for half of the lecture. How could he answer any questions? He was scolded by the teacher quite badly. Kathy turned her head and looked at Jacob with pity in her eyes. After the lecture was over, Jacob, Sam, and the others returned to the dorm. Their other friends visited shortly after the class and asked about the Mercedes-Benz pickup incident. Jacob lied that his mother's elder brother from Singapore came down to see him, and it was a surprise. He simply picked him up for a meal, and that was that. He covered it up and didn't go into an elaborate story to avoid follow-up questions. "You haven't been yourself lately. Did you get rejected by a girl?" Sam blurted out later at night. Jacob was doing his homework, and he had a text message from Kathy a few seconds ago. "Nah, I've been busy lately." Jacob wasn't paying much attention to Sam, nor did he expect Kathy to send him a text. He was about to reply when his phone began to ring. It was Kathy. "What happened this morning?" she asked as soon as Jacob picked up the phone. "Oh, that? Well, one of my relatives, my uncle, actually returned from overseas and treated me to a meal. He gave me a surprise, and that's why I didn't know about it in advance." "Where are you?" Kathy asked. "I'm in my dorm room," Jacob answered. Kathy was silent for a few seconds before she suddenly asked, "Do you want to go for a walk? The moonlight is pretty right now." Jacob got butterflies in his stomach because he didn't expect an invitation like this. Class President Kathy was a popular girl. Not only every guy in his class liked her, but so did many others in their college. If Sam and his other friends didn't go behind Jacob's back and blab about his feelings to Kathy on his behalf, the relationship between them wouldn't be so awkward. "Never mind. I'm all right, really. I have quite a bit of homework to do. Another time. Jacob struggled for a moment, but finally managed to turn her down. If you have questions, just ask me, said Kathy. After a moment of pause, she continued. No matter what, I am your class president. I need to take care of you. Isn't that right? Haha, well, thank you for your concern. Jacob couldn't think of anything else to say. No worries. Kathy hung up the phone. Jacob put down his cell phone and felt a smile spreading across his face. Who was it? Sam and his other two roommates asked as soon as he kept the phone. No one, Jacob continued to smile. You've been pretty mysterious lately. Not sure what you've been up to. Sam came up and punched Jacob lightly as he mocked him. Jacob took the punch from Sam and thought, if someone sees me and Kathy taking a walk, I'm not sure how the teachers will react. Shouldn't Kathy be concerned about this? In the middle of the night, Jacob sneakily crawled down from his bunk bed when Sam and others were in deep sleep. He opened the door to his dorm and walked out to the balcony. The moonlight was bright. Jacob took out Elder Liam's card and looked at it for a while before putting it back in his pocket. Might as well give it a try. After Jacob's stance was steady, he faced the silent sky and thought about the cultivation technique in his mind. The golden scripts emerged in Jacob's mind. Jacob tried to comprehend the meaning of the technique word by word and concentrated on his meditation as instructed. He finished a whole set at once, returned to his room sneakily, and found out that 2 hours were gone. Just like that. Jacob was surprised. He wasn't sure if it was a psychological effect or not, but soon after the practice, he felt that the swelling on his arm was gone and his arm felt good as new. He was relieved, but still in disbelief of his new world full of dragons. Whatever, I've done my part. Time to go to bed. Jacob suppressed all the other thoughts and fell asleep at once. In the next few days, life had become as dull as watching a stream of water. All the attention that Jacob had attracted in the last week was gone. However, Kathy still seemed to have an interest in Jacob. She kept glancing at him in class. Meanwhile, Jacob continued practicing his meditation every night after his roommates went to sleep, but there weren't any developments or visible changes. His strength was back to normal, and Sam could once again defeat him in arm wrestling. Soon enough, it was Thursday, one of the most exciting days for all students studying mechatronics. It was not exciting because of a compulsory course for the second-year students, weak optical signal processing, but it was exciting because of the teacher who was taking that class. Hurry up! Hurry up! We have to get the seats in the front row! Rushing out of the advanced maths class, Sam dragged Jacob and ran crazily towards another big classroom. Save 2 seats for us! Sam yelled out to one of his friends, but it was in vain. The first 15 rows were already occupied. We're too slow, said Sam in a disappointed tone. He picked the center seats, dragged Jacob with him, and saved 2 seats for his other friends. No, man, this is so far behind. The other 2 friends were equally dissatisfied when they saw the location of their seats. These people skipped classes to get those seats. What can I do? Sam said, innocently. Didn't you claim that you must marry her? You don't even have the guts to skip class, Sam's friend mocked him. Weren't you excited since yesterday for her lecture? Why didn't you bunk your class? Sam chuckled back at him. Soon the classroom was full, and even Kathy couldn't manage to get a front row seat. In fact, she had to sit far behind Jacob and his group. You've been having quite a few eye contacts with Kathy lately. Are you guys secretly dating? One of the classmates asked Jacob. I've been with you all day. When do you think I have these secret dates? Jacob rolled his eyes. The classroom was noisy. Other than Jacob's class, there were 4 other classes here as well. Everybody was talking, especially the guys. The bell rang and a pretty-looking teacher walked in. She was dressed gracefully in a short dress and looked dainty. All the guys gasped. She looks prettier than what we had heard about her, Sam said dreamily. As the guys gasped, Jacob couldn't help but stick out his head to look at their new teacher. Indeed, Susan dazzled in her clothes that accentuated her petite figure. It wasn't difficult to guess why the classroom was packed with male students. Susan walked to the front of the dais slowly in her high heels. Today, we are going to talk about the third module. Everybody, open your textbook to page number 73. Susan's soft tone traveled from the microphone in front of her to every corner of the classroom. I'm in heaven. Sam was drunk on her voice. It would be so pleasant to have this kind of lecture every day. She's really pretty, Jacob looked at her and thought. The engineering students knew that they were going to have her only for a few sessions, and they wanted to make the most of it. In addition to her attractiveness, Susan's lectures were clear, organized, and easy to understand. Even the girls in the class had good reason to admire her. The 90-minute lecture sadly came to an end after all. Susan usually left the lecture hall promptly after the class, but she did something unusual today. You, follow me to my office. Susan pointed out in Sam's direction. Me? Sam couldn't believe his ears. No, not you. The one to your right. It was Jacob she wanted.